Hello, welcome to Verbling. Sorry for the late start due to technical problems beyond my control. The class is starting a little bit late. My apologies. In this class, we will be finishing our little mini series this week, looking at the simple verb tenses. In this class, we're going to look at future simple verb tense. I will be talking about it and showing you the forms, plural, and then we will be looking at the uses of the two forms of the future simple, when and how to use it. And as we go along, you, the students, will have an opportunity to form your own sentences that correspond with the different uses we'll be looking at today. Okay. Hello. Welcome to the class. Hi.
Hi,
Hi, what's your name?
my name is Kostya Konstantin.
Constantine.
Yes.
Okay. Can I call you Constantine? Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay. All right. Welcome to the class. Hi, I'm Oakley. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too.
Thank you. Okay. We're going to jump right in because I started a little bit late because of technical problems. So I'm going to do a screen share here, talk to you a little bit about using the simple future verb tense, and then look at the forms, and then we're going to look at uses and practice them. All right, there are two forms of the simple future in English. One uses will in the verb, and the other uses the verb to be plus going to plus the verb. In some uses, intentions, the two forms are interchangeable. However, in other uses, purposes, the two forms are used differently. Okay, well, hopefully I will be able to illustrate that to you. Both will and be going to refer to a specific time in the future. So, first of all, looking at the forms, will plus the verb. Very simple. You will help him later, okay? In a normal English sentence, you, the subject, first, then the verb construction, will help, then the object noun. Pretty simple. As always, in the question form, the first auxiliary or helper verb, in this case, will is the auxiliary, will transpose or switch places with the subject noun. So, for example, will you help him later? In the question form, not only for future tenses, but for actually all verb tenses. When we form the question, the first auxiliary will go first in the question. In the negative form, the not, which makes it negative, will follow that same first auxiliary. You will not help him later. Of course, most native speakers are going to use the contraction when we use not. So it's going to be won't. You won't help him later is the normal contraction for will not. The other form that we need to look at, the be going to form, is the verb to be depending on the subject noun, first, second, or third person. For example, I am, he is, she is, it is, or they are, we are, and then going to, and then the main verb. So it looks like this. You, the subject noun, and then the entire verb construction are going to meet Jane tonight. For example, notice again in the question form, now here we've got lots of helper verbs, lots of auxiliary words here, extra words. As I mentioned with will, the first auxiliary transposes with the subject noun. Are you going to meet Jane tonight? And then with the negative, the not, again, will follow are. Now here, it is possible to contract in normal spoken English. It's possible to say you're not going to meet Jane tonight. Contract you are to your. Be careful of spelling because it looks like this. It is not Y-O-U-R. That is the possessive. That is something totally different. It will look like this. You're not going to meet Jane tonight, but it's probably more normal to always contract the not with the auxiliary. So most native speakers would probably say you aren't going to meet Jane tonight. Either one is perfectly correct in spoken English. However, it's probably more likely to normally just contract the not. All right. That's what it looks like. Okay, now we're going to look at uses, and you guys are going to practice forming some sentences. Hello, Hajar. How are you today?
Yeah, hello, teacher. I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Thanks for joining us. Okay. All right. You use will to express a voluntary action. For example, offering, to make an offer, or possibly the suggestion is the person's doing it voluntarily on their own as an offer. We often use will to respond to someone else's complaint or request for help. So also as a response, someone asking you to do something, a request. We also will use will in a question form when we request that somebody help us or volunteer to do something for us. And similarly, we will use the negative forms when we refuse to do something voluntarily. We will use won't. For example, I will send you the information when I get it. All right, I'm volunteering to do this. Okay, I will translate the email so Mr. Smith can read it. All right, in question forms, will you help me move this heavy table? Now, for example, the difference between will and am going to, for example, in the first couple of sentences, I could say, I am going to send you the information when I get it. What is the difference? The difference is in the intention or the thought process of the speaker. When I say I will send you the information, I mean I'm volunteering to do this. I'm offering. That's what my thinking is. If I say I am going to send you the information when I get it, I'm telling you that that's my plan. In this case, it really doesn't make any difference to the listener. The important thing is that they're going to get their information, really. The intention of the speaker doesn't really matter. And this will be the case in many cases. That although the intention of the speaker could be different, to the listener it makes no difference. However, when we get to the questions requesting help, will you help me move this heavy table? Can I use the other form? Yes, I can, but it would sound like this. Are you going to help me move this heavy table? What is the difference? Will you help me move this heavy table? I'm making a request. I'm wondering if you will voluntarily help me. When I say, are you going to help me move this heavy table? I'm saying, is that your plan or what? It is possible to say this if you're annoyed at somebody or angry. What are you standing there for? Come on, aren't you going to help me move this table? Don't you have a plan to help me? Why don't you have a plan to help me? You will hear requests made with going to, but those requests are made in anger or frustration Why don't you have the plan to help me move the table? So, okay. If I ask my wife, will you make dinner? I'm being nice and polite, and we're all being happy and kind to each other. Will you help me make dinner? Or will you make dinner? Please? If I say, are you going to make dinner? I'm kind of saying, why haven't you made dinner yet? Don't you have a plan to make dinner? Where's the dinner? Come on, get with it. All right, so there is definitely a difference to the listener in these requests, which is very clear to the listener. If I'm using are you going to, then I'm criticizing, and I'm angry in all likelihood. I will not do your homework for you. Okay, fine. I won't do your homework for you. I won't do all the housework myself. Okay, in dialogues, it might look like this. A and B, two people speaking. I'm really hungry, says A. I'll make some sandwiches, says B. Well, that's nice of you. Okay, they're volunteering. Very common. The phone is ringing. I'll get it. All right. Let's try out using will with this use where we're kind of volunteering to do something for somebody. Or you can give me a negative, or you can try to create a question. Constantine.
Yeah.
Give it a try here using will for a voluntary action.
I will go to the shop. No, it's not volunteer.
Well, how about if I do this? I'll help you out a little. There. I will go to the shop now for you. Well, now it is. Haha. That wasn't too hard. Okay. Fine. Hajar, you want to give it a shot?
Yes. Mm, I will go with you in the.
Sorry, Hajar, you cut out a little bit. One more time.
Will go with the cinema.
Uh-oh. I think we have a connection problem. Hajar, want to try it one more time? Hajar, one more time?
Can you hear me?
I could hear you say, can you hear me? I couldn't hear anything else. Go ahead.
I will go with you in the cinema.
Okay. Well, because you're, that's okay. You're volunteering to do something to accompany someone. The use of will go is okay. But Hajar, because you're using the verb go, that's motion, movement from one place to another, we have to use to the cinema, not in the cinema.
Okay.
Once you're in the cinema, you're inside the cinema. So that doesn't really make sense. You're already there, so okay. All right, I will go with you to the cinema. Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, let's move on. Another use. We can use will to express a promise. Very similar to volunteering to do something, not very different at all. We always use will. Normally we use will when we make a promise. Things like, okay, I will call you when I arrive. All right. All right, this next example. Well, I have to look at this a little bit more carefully. If I am elected President of the United States, I will make sure everyone has access to inexpensive health insurance. Wonderful. Okay, this construction here is Does anybody know, Hajar, Constantine, do you know what special kind of sentence this is?
Conditional.
You are correct, sir. That is right. So, right.
First conditional.
First conditional, the real conditional. This speaker believes they have a chance at being the president. They think this is a real condition. Ha ha ha. Okay. If I am, all right, using the present tense, okay, I will make sure. I will make sure using the will to make a future tense. If I was to use the second conditional, however, I would have to say if I were elected president of the United States, I would make sure everyone blah blah blah. Okay, so you got to be a little careful of that, but fine. Right. Which, if I say if I were elected president, that what I'm really saying is I don't really think it's realistic that I would be elected president. So then you would have to use would, but will is always used in the first conditional. Okay, I mean it's possible to use am going to in the first conditional as well. You can use either form, but okay, if the first conditional is used to make a promise, you use will. I should say that. If you actually use the word I promise, then you have to use will. I promise I will do something. Okay, don't worry, I'll be careful. These kind of very basic promises. Don't worry, Mom, I'll wear a hat. All right, things like that. Okay, that's pretty straightforward and simple. It's very close to the volunteering. Let's try this one out. Constantine, you want to give it a try?
I will connect to your lesson, to your next lesson.
Okay.
I will join to your next lesson.
Okay. Connect to is okay. If you want to use join, then get rid of the to. I will join your next lesson. Yes, you connect to something. That would be fine. I will join your next lesson. Okay. That sounds like a promise. All right. Hajar, promise me something.
If I come to my country, I will come to you.
Okay, say that again. If I
Come
to your country?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I will. What will you do?
I will come to you.
Come to me? Oh, okay. Okay. It might be better to say I will visit you. I mean, it's
Yes.
not wrong. It's not wrong the way that you did it. It's not necessarily wrong, but a native speaker would most likely say it this way. If I come, I will visit you. It's a very common collocation of phrases. Okay, that's definitely a conditional with a promise, with I will. Okay, great. The main difference between will and be going to is we're going to look at now. Be going to is used to express a plan or ask about a plan. What is your plan? In a question form. Means somebody has thought about it before right now. When we make an instant decision, then we always use will, and native speakers do it very naturally. When they decide to do something right now, they use will. If you thought about it before, then you tend to use am going to or be going to. Doesn't matter whether the plan is realistic or not. Okay, that's absolutely true. Okay, people make very unrealistic plans, so that has nothing to do with reality. All right, let's look at examples. He is going to spend his vacation in Hawaii. All right, she is not going to spend her vacation in Hawaii. That is not her plan. In the question form, when are we going to meet each other tonight? It's very common to use this form in questions to ask, basically you're asking, what is the plan? Okay, and so the response, the plan is, we are going to meet at 6 p.m. All right. All right, you hear kids making all kinds of crazy plans about the future. I'm going to be an actor when I grow up. Fine. Is it really going to happen? Who cares? That's the plan. Okay. They're going to drive all the way to Alaska. All right. Who are you going to invite to the party? Again, in a question, who are you planning to invite to the party? Who have you thought about planning to? Who have you thought about inviting to the party? Who's going to make John's birthday cake? Again, asking what is the plan. All right. The plan is Susan. Okay, Constantine, talk to me about your future plans. Okay.
Question. What are you going to do after the lesson?
After specific, because we're here in the lesson and we know which lesson it is, it's defined, so we have to use the
lesson.
Yeah, the definitive article. What are you going to do after the lesson? I'm going to teach another lesson. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
A private lesson. That's what I'm going to do. Jar.
Yes.
Go ahead.
When are you going to spend a holiday in this year?
Okay, wait a minute. When are you going to... When?
To spend a holiday this year.
Okay. Well, let's see here. I got the gist of your question. You got the idea of the verb tense, right? Do you mean holiday like, okay, like a vacation?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, normally we would say then, when are you going to take a holiday instead of spend a holiday? Okay, we normally say, where will you spend your holiday? Okay, or where are you going? Even better, where are you going to spend your holiday? You know, and if somebody said to you, when will you take a holiday this year, or where will you spend your holiday? It really doesn't make that much of a difference. Really, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't mean anything. All it means is that I'm asking you to make a prediction, because I can use both of these forms. Future simple forms are going to. Here it is. All right. I'm predicating myself. All right. I can use both of these forms to express a prediction. So if I say, when will you take a holiday this year, I'm asking you to predict for me. Give me your best prediction. If I say, when are you going to, I'm asking you, what is your plan right now? To the listener, again, it hardly makes a difference. You know, the content of the question is the content of the question, so it really doesn't matter very much. This happens all the time with these two uses of will and going to. Very often it really makes no difference which one you use, but occasionally it doesn't make sense at all to use one or the other. Okay, so both can be used to talk about the general idea of a prediction, guesses about the future. Okay. In prediction sentences, the subject has little control over the future, and therefore doesn't really matter. There's no difference in the meaning of these sentences. For example, the year 2022 will be a very interesting year. Okay, the year 2022 is going to be a very interesting year. Okay, who knows? Who cares? John Smith will be the next president. John Smith is going to be the next president. Okay, it's clearly these are all predictions, and it really doesn't make any difference. And as I have been saying, very often, 9 times out of 10, it really actually doesn't even matter which use the speaker has in their brain. It's kind of irrelevant to the listener. So it happens a lot. Okay, let's talk about a very important factor when using future tenses, or maybe a negative factor. A very, very common mistake for English language learners, which you really need to avoid, because it really does sound bad or read bad. All future forms, not just the simple future, but all future forms, cannot be used in time clauses or clauses that begin with time subordinators. They're also called time subordinators. These words, when, while, before, after, phrasal subordinators, by the time, or as soon as. In addition, if is the one that often gets forgotten, and the negative of if, unless. The if and unless are considered to be time words, believe it or not. In English, and you simply can never use a future tense when a clause begins with one of these words, or other. There are several others as well. Words that have something to do with time. Instead, we have to default to the simple present tense. It is simply never allowed, ever, to use will. When I will arrive home. Can't do it. Why I will be washing my clothes. Can't do it. Before I will finish the work. I will have to take a break. Can't do it. Before I finish the work, I will have to take a break. It is very often, will or a future or going to is used in the other clause in the sentence. That happens all the time. But in the clause that contains this word or starts with any of these words, it's simply impossible. I hear language learners do this all the time too. When you will arrive tonight, we will go out for dinner. Very common mistake. Don't do it. It sounds very strange for native speakers. So this is the correct way to do it. When you arrive tonight, we will go out for dinner. It is understood that this sentence is about the future, because we will go out for dinner is an independent clause, or all by itself, it could be a simple sentence. Thus, an independent clause. It doesn't need any help. It's independent. The other clause, when you arrive tonight, is dependent. If I say when you arrive tonight by itself, it doesn't make any sense at all. So it needs some help. It's a dependent clause. So this dependent clause just can't, it's understood that the whole sentence, the main part of the sentence is the independent clause. It's understood the whole sentence is about the future. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about adverb placement. Adverbs that show how often or when or how much or things like that. Always, only, never, ever. These types of time-related adverbs. Okay, this is where they go. In a statement, just like not, okay, you will not help him, you will never help him, you will always help him, you will still help him, whatever. All right, the adverb is modifying the verb help. It's showing how often the verb help happens, how often the help, or how. It goes right in front of the verb is the key. Now, there are frequently times that you use, and you could put, sometimes, you can move this around in a sentence. Put it in the beginning of a sentence, put it at the end of a sentence. This particular adverb doesn't even make sense anywhere else. Never, you will help him. No, that's terrible. You will help him never. Makes no sense at all. So this particular adverb only makes sense right here, where it is. Other adverbs may make sense to put in front of the sentence or behind. The thing to remember is that it will always be correct right here. Sometimes if you move it around in a sentence, it will change the meaning of the sentence, or sometimes it won't work at all, as in this case. Other times you move it around and it changes the meaning completely. So you've got to be careful of that. That's where to put it if to be safe. Okay, again, following this first auxiliary. Same thing here. You are never going to meet Jane. Okay. Obviously, adverbs are also used to modify other adverbs or adjectives. That's easy. When it's used for that purpose, it goes directly in front of the adjective or the adverb that it's modifying every time. Okay, so this is the safe way to do it. Okay, let's look at using the future simple with passives. In an active sentence, we care who did the action. So the subject noun will do the action. John will finish the work, the object noun, the work, by 5 a.m. Oh, 5 p.m., whatever. That's an active sentence. In a passive sentence, we could care less who did the action. In fact, the example here, we don't know who did the action. Maybe we are using the passive because we don't know who did the action. Maybe because we simply don't care who did the action. Maybe because it is completely obvious who did the action. For example, I was given a speeding ticket. Okay, that's past passive. But in any case, I use passive because obviously policemen give speeding tickets. Nobody else does. It's not really necessary for me to give you that information. Okay, so that's why we use a passive. The form, the action happens to the subject noun. The work will be finished. Notice the form. In all passive sentences, regardless of the verb tense, the main verb is the past participle version of the verb. Form, I should say, whatever. The past participle form of the verb, finished. The other part of the verb is going to, basically, this kind of demonstrates the tense that you're in. Will be is the future simple verb tense with the verb be. Okay, this is how to, basically what I'm telling you is how to construct any passive. The main verb will always be the past participle, and the front part of the verb will be using the verb to be as if it were the main verb and however you form the main verb. Okay, that's it. We'll practice this in a second. With is going to, all right, Sally is going to make a beautiful dinner tonight. A beautiful dinner is going to be made by Sally. So past participle of the main verb, and there's an extra verb to be in front of the main verb. All right, which if we extract this is just basically going to be, this is what the future simple looks like with the verb to be. That's it. Okay, let's try it out here. All right, Constantine, I don't care if you would like to use will or is going to be, but try a passive sentence.
The mobile phone is going to be bought by me.
Okay. All right. Great. Perfect form of the passive future simple. By the way, if we actually want to add who is doing the action, this is how to do it. Good job. At the end of the sentence, we'll add a prepositional phrase by whomever did the action. Okay. Of course, in this case, nothing wrong with your sentence. It's all perfectly correct. Of course, usually, normally, a native speaker would say this in an active sentence. I'm going to buy the mobile phone. But okay, as far as just practicing the form, great. Hajar, you want to try it out?
Yes. The home will be cleaned by my sister.
Okay. All right, and there's the version with will. All right. The home will be cleaned by my sister. All right. I would automatically assume, Hajar, by looking at this sentence, this is not your family's home that you're talking about. Okay, I would make that assumption because you use the instead of my home or our home. Instead of using a possessive, you use the. So just so you know, my automatic, I don't know what you're thinking when you said it, but my automatic assumption would be that you mean somebody else's home, not your family's. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Well, good job, both of you. Now, the one thing we didn't look at is making predictions. So let's give that a try because we still have a lot of time left. Constantine, predict something for me about, I don't know, global warming, global space, I don't know, whatever. Make a prediction for me.
Could you show some example?
Sure. A prediction, just something you will happen in the you think will happen in the future. Let's see. Going back to these examples, it doesn't even have to be, okay. These examples are clearly predictions about the future. The year 2222 will be a very interesting year, is going to be a very interesting year. You can use either. But the fact of the matter is, look, if I say, I will work on Monday, okay, Now, all right. Fine. Maybe I will go to work on Monday. I will work on Monday. Maybe I'm volunteering to work. Maybe that's my day off. All right. I will go to work on Monday. Fine. I predict that I'm going to work on Monday. Great. I am going to go to work on Monday. Great. I have a plan to go. Again, or maybe I have a plan to go, or maybe, again, I'm predicting that I'm going to go to work, work on Monday. Again, to the listener, it really matters, and it really doesn't matter, and the speaker, native speaker doesn't bother thinking about this. We generally, if it's definitely, without a doubt, a plan, we're going to use the going to whatever. If it's definitely making an offer or asking a request, we definitely actually automatically use will. That's the big one. But 9 times out of 10, you can't tell if somebody's making a prediction or if they're making a plan. And really, to the listener, it won't matter at all. So anyway, anything predicting, predictive, any kind of predictive sentence, really.
Next year, it will economic crisis in the world, like this.
Okay, maybe let's rephrase that. You're using it before you're using any other subject noun. So let's, instead of using a pronoun, okay, next year, what? The economy, the world economy?
Economic crisis will be, I know how. The economic crisis will be
okay, will be
in all world in the world.
Okay, let's see here. Hang on. We need to tinker with this a little bit. Okay, this isn't quite right. And next year, the okay, the economic rises doesn't make sense really. Well, there's a couple ways to do this. There's more than one way to skin a cat, we say in English. Next year, put a comma to make that clear. Economic rises will be in all the world. Maybe will, instead of will be, we'd probably tend to use a verb like happen. Maybe will happen all over the world. Okay, something like that. You might say next year, okay, the world economy will rise.
But I said about not rises, crisis.
Oh, crisis.
Yeah. What's rises? Rises, is it like rises but good? Yes. Right. What is rises?
Rises, a rise, I was using it as a noun. A rise in income, for example, means your income goes from 100,000 rubles to 150,000 rubles, like that. That's a rise. Up.
Okay.
Opposite of a fall. Okay, next year, economic crises. Crises are okay. All right. All right. Crisis. Not crisis. Okay. Crises. All right. There we go. Will happen all over the world. we would still use happen if we're talking about the future. Okay, this is worth noting. We say something will happen. We don't normally say something will be. Okay.
Yeah.
If we're talking about an action happening, occurring, it's more something changing. We say something will happen instead of something will be. I mean, if we're talking about something that's not changing, we can use be. Next year, I will be a year older. Well, okay, that's obvious, because that's what I'll be at the time. Oh, I had this right the first time. Crisis is no E like that. That is correct. Okay, well, next year. Why do we have to wait till next year? I thought it already started. Okay, anyway, Hajar, make a prediction. Any prediction.
I will can speak English fluently at the end of this year.
I will speak. Okay.
English
Okay. Fluently. At.
at the end of this year.
Okay. One. Okay. The verb to be is. I mean, the future tense here is fine. Will speak. Okay. Obviously, making a prediction about the future. That's quite obvious. There's nothing wrong with this sentence, but when you say at the end of this year, at we use for very specific things when we're talking about time or place, especially. So you're basically saying, like December 31st, you will speak English fluently. Okay? It would be much more normal, perhaps, to say by the end of this year. Okay? To show that you're kind of shows that you're learning English until the end of this year. Or maybe you will speak English fluently on December 3rd or November 23rd. Not necessarily specifically the last day of the year or something. Okay? You see my meaning? Okay.
Yes.
All right. One last thing. We can also talk about the future tense. A couple
So
of
we
different.
can say I will can. It's correct or not?
Say again, please. Sorry.
I will can.
I will can.
Yes, it's correct or not?
No, it is not correct. Okay, in addition to its capacity as an auxiliary verb, will is also considered to be a modal verb. Okay, modal. Modal verbs are verbs like might, would, could, should, may. Okay, you cannot say might can, would can. Can is also a modal verb. So you cannot have two modal verbs together. You cannot say might can, I might would go to the party. It doesn't make sense. It's impossible to combine two modals. So you can't do that at all. Earlier, a couple days ago, we were looking at present simple. I just want to point out that it is possible to use sometimes a present simple tense to talk about the future if it's in the very near future. Okay. Okay, so it's possible to say something like, I leave at 5 p.m. Okay, I'm talking about 5 p.m. in 4 minutes. The class is over at 5 p.m. my time. I know it's a different time where you guys are. The class is over at 5 p.m. So I'm actually talking about a few minutes from now, but I can actually use simple present tense to do that. It has to be something in the very, very near future, or it has to be a regularly scheduled event like trains and buses. All right, the train leaves at 6 p.m. Something like that. It's possible. Now, okay, it's 3 in the afternoon. I can say the train leaves at 6 p.m. So you better hurry up because the train leaves at 6 p.m. It's in the future and things that are like regularly scheduled events. Because in a way, okay, every day the train leaves at 6 p.m. That's a regular schedule. So it's, even though I'm referring to the future, I can use present simple tense. And it's okay to do that. Okay, Konstantin, Hajar, do you have any other questions about future tense? Anything at all that is confusing? Or you may want to know?
No, thank you.
Okay, then. Thank you. Have a wonderful future. Okay. Alrighty then. And in that case, thank you very much. We've only got seconds left, so thanks a lot. Probably next week at this same time, we'll be looking at continuous verb tenses. Hopefully you can join me. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Bye.